My name is Marinelle Rhodes. I am 67 years old. Most mornings in my small apartment near Back Cove began the same way, a slow walk to the kitchen. The kettle humming, the quiet reminding me that no one else lived here anymore. After retiring from the school district last year, the silence felt even heavier. I filled my days with volunteer work and long walks, but nothing ever softened the space where my daughter used to be. 5 years without hearing Hannah's voice. 5 years since that terrible argument that ended with her slamming the door and telling me she needed distance. I replayed that moment constantly, trying to figure out when concern became control, when love turned into something sharp. Every season that passed made it harder to believe she would ever want to see me again. That Friday morning, the phone rang while I was buttering toast. An ordinary sound in an ordinary kitchen, but something in my chest tightened. I answered without checking the caller ID. Mom. The voice was unfamiliar, yet familiar, and my toast slipped from my hands before I could check the caller ID. The toast slipped from my hand and hit the floor. Hannah! My voice cracked, and I gripped the counter to steady myself. It's me, she said, but her voice was different, rougher. Like someone waking from a long illness, she sounded worn, as if the last 5 years had aged her beyond her 37 years. I was wondering if you could come for dinner this Saturday. Just family, just us. I closed my eyes and let the words settle. For a moment, I could not speak. Every apology I had rehearsed over the years tangled on my tongue. Yes, I finally breathed. Of course I will come. There were small hesitations in her tone. Pauses that should have made me ask more questions. Instead, I clung to the chance she was offering. A second beginning. A door opening after so long shut. When the call ended, I stood alone in the kitchen, trembling. I pulled out the good dishes, the ones she always loved, and set them on the counter as if preparing myself for something gentle, something healing. By the next morning, I was packing gifts into the trunk of my car and rehearsing what I would say when I saw her again. By mid-morning, I found myself standing in the children's aisle of a bookstore, holding 2 small wrapped puzzles and a set of watercolor pens. I had never met my grandchildren, but I tried to imagine what an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl might enjoy. The clerk asked if I needed help, and I forced a polite smile. They are for my daughter's children. I said, it has been a long time. She nodded gently, as if understanding more than I had said. Back in the car, the gifts sat on the passenger seat like quiet witnesses. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. The last conversation I had with Hannah played in my mind the way it always did. Her voice sharp with frustration. Mine tangled with fear. I had told her I did not trust Tyler. She told me she was tired of being judged. Those were the last words between us. Tyler Ward. I remembered him from the early days, handsome, smooth talking, making jokes that charmed entire rooms. He took Hannah's hand at dinners as if he adored her, but even then I noticed the small pauses when she looked for permission to speak. I had tried to raise my concerns gently. She said I was imagining things. The drive out of Portland began with familiar streets and steady traffic. But the farther I went, the quieter the world became. Houses thinned into long stretches of pine and open land. My fingers tightened around the wheel again. Something about the silence pressed hard against my chest. I whispered aloud, as if Hannah could hear me. I should have listened better. I should have found another way to reach you. A pickup truck merged behind me, then disappeared down a side road. The air grew cooler. I rolled the window up and reminded myself that reconciliation required courage. This was the chance I had wanted for 5 long years. I rehearsed the words I planned to say, simple things, honest things. I am sorry. I missed you. I am ready when you are. The road curved toward Falmouth, winding through tall trees. My heart beat faster, heavier, as though trying to warn me of something I could not yet name. I kept driving, choosing hope over fear, even as the quiet around me seemed to deepen. The driveway felt too quiet when I pulled in. Hannah had told me the children were lively, always running through the halls, always singing. But the house stood still, curtains drawn, no footsteps, no voices. I stepped out of the car with the gift bags and closed the door softly, listening for anything that might tell me life existed inside. Nothing. I adjusted my coat and walked toward the front steps. "Hannah," I called gently, more out of habit than expectation. My voice echoed off the siding without an answer. I tried again, louder this time. "Sweetheart, it's Mom." Still nothing. I took another step, gripping the handrail as I tried to steady the tremor creeping into my fingers. Just then, movement caught my eye, someone rounding the side of the house at a sprint. A man. Lean build, dark hair threaded with gray. I recognized him after a moment of disbelief. Daniel Ortiz, the gardener Hannah once mentioned in passing. Normally polite and steady, but now his urgency was palpable. But now he was running like a man escaping a fire. "Mrs. Rhodes." His voice cracked as he closed the distance. "Stop. Stop right there." I froze on the step, clutching the gift bags to my chest. He reached me, out of breath, eyes wild, and grabbed my arm with both hands. "Do not come in," he gasped. "Get out now, please." The panic in him was so sharp it felt like a physical blow. "Daniel, what is going on? Where is my daughter?" My voice shook, despite my effort to hold it steady. He kept glancing over his shoulder toward the house. "You cannot be here, not today. Something is wrong inside." I heard. He stopped himself, swallowing hard. "I will explain later, but you need to leave, right now." "I came for dinner," I whispered, my voice trembling as the panic in his eyes spread to me. "Hannah invited me. I talked to her yesterday." Daniel's grip tightened. "That was not her." My throat closed. "What do you mean it was not her who called me?" His expression twisted with something like guilt. "Please, Mrs. Rhodes, I am begging you, get in your car and lock the doors. Do not go near that house." The tremor in my hands spread to my arms. I let him guide me backward down the steps. My legs felt wooden, my breaths uneven. Daniel gave one last frantic look toward the silent windows, then pushed me gently. "Go." I stumbled to the car, dropped the gifts onto the passenger seat, and forced the door shut with shaking fingers. I did not start the engine. I could not move. I could only stare at the house and wonder what kind of terror could drive a grown man to scream at a stranger. I sat in the driver's seat with my hands clenched around the steering wheel, staring through the windshield at the house that should have been filled with my daughter's voice. Daniel paced along the porch, glancing into every window as if expecting something to leap out. Every few seconds, he muttered, "Something is wrong inside. I should have called again. I should have pushed harder." I cracked the window. "Daniel, tell me what you heard." He shook his head sharply. "Not now. Stay in the car. Do not move." Before I could press him further, a dark SUV crawled down the road, slowing as it passed the property. The driver did not look our way, yet the tension in Daniel's shoulders tightened. The vehicle disappeared into the trees, but unease settled heavier around us. A faint flicker drew my gaze back to the house. The hallway light blinked uncertainly, and for a moment, I thought I saw a shadow move behind the frosted glass near the staircase. My breath caught. "Daniel," I whispered. "Someone is in there." He moved quickly toward the side of the house, jaw clenched. "Stay put. Whatever happens, do not come near this door." My heartbeat thudded painfully. Part of me wanted to run inside and call for Hannah. Another part told me to drive away as fast as I could. I stayed frozen, torn between fear and the unbearable thought of my daughter being somewhere beyond those walls, waiting for me. The flicker in the hallway had barely faded when a pair of unmarked cars turned into the driveway. No sirens, just quiet authority. Daniel stepped back fast, lifting his hands to show he wasn't a threat. 2 uniformed officers got out, followed by a woman in a dark coat who moved with the certainty of someone who already knew what she'd find. One officer approached my window. "Mrs. Rhodes," I lowered it with shaking fingers. "Yes." What is happening?" "Where is my daughter, ma'am?" he said softly. "We need you to step out." The woman in the coat joined him. "I am Detective Leona Sloan." Her voice carried a weight that made my stomach tighten. "You are safe, but we need to speak with you right away." Daniel came closer. "I called them this morning," he told me quietly. "They finally got what they needed." Detective Sloan turned to him. "Mr. Ortiz, stay nearby. I will speak with you again." Then she looked back at me. "Mrs. Rhodes, please follow me to the side of the driveway." I stepped out slowly, gripping the door for balance. "Someone is inside the house," I whispered. "I saw a shadow. That is why we are here." She glanced toward the porch, where more officers were taking positions. "Mrs. Rhodes, what time did you receive the invitation to come here yesterday morning?" I said. "Hannah called me." She sounded older, tired. Detective Sloan exhaled through her nose. Not surprised. "Mrs. Rhodes, your daughter has been missing for 9 days. The ground shifted beneath me. "Missing? No. She called me. She told me to be here for dinner. That call did not come from your daughter," Sloan said firmly. "We traced a burner number connected to ongoing investigations." My throat tightened. "Investigations. Hannah's husband, Tyler Ward, is under active scrutiny." She said, "Fraud, coercion, suspected domestic violence, and now your daughter's disappearance. We have reason to believe he may have lured you here today." The words sank like stones. "Why would he want me here?" Detective Sloan exchanged a meaningful look with another officer. "We are still determining that, ma'am, but whatever the reason, it was not for dinner." Behind her, more unmarked vehicles rolled in. Officers moved toward the house with drawn weapons. I pressed a hand to my chest. If Hannah had not called me, someone else wanted me standing on that porch. Daniel stayed a few steps away from the cluster of officers, rubbing his palms against his jeans as if trying to wipe something off that would never leave. When he finally met my eyes, his voice was low, roughened by fear. "Mrs. Rhodes, I should have told someone sooner." I moved closer. "Tell me now, Daniel, please." He exhaled shakily. For months, things between Hannah and Tyler were bad. Not normal bad. Real bad. He glanced toward the house as if expecting someone to burst out. I heard them. Screaming fights, crashing furniture. Sometimes she'd come out to the garden pretending to check on the hydrangeas, but her hands would shake. My chest tightened. "Why didn't she call me?" He shook his head. "I think she tried to protect you." Detective Sloan stepped in. "Mr. Ortiz?" "Start from last week." Daniel swallowed hard. 3 days ago, I found blood on the tiles near the back steps. Not a cut on the rosebush kind of blood. It was smeared, like someone tried to clean it fast. And a lamp inside was shattered. My knees weakened. But Sloan steadied me with a hand on my arm, and this morning she prompted. Daniel looked sick. I got here before sunrise. Thought I heard movement inside. Then I saw Tyler coming out the side door. He looked off, sweaty. Kept glancing at the house like he was checking if something would blow. Sloan stiffened. "Blow?" Daniel nodded. I followed him a bit. He was messing with the oven gas line. I am almost sure he cracked it open. I covered my mouth. "Dear God." I called 911. Daniel continued. "But they said without a witness or a family member confirming concerns, they could not force entry." Sloan looked at me. And when you arrived, that changed everything. Daniel's voice broke. Mrs. Rhodes. Hannah was trying to get away from him. I think she hid something before she disappeared. Detective Sloan leaned forward across the small conference table, sliding a stack of documents toward me. His voice had lost the measured calm he used outside. Now it carried the weight of something he wished he did not have to say. Mrs. Rhodes, he began. We finally have a clearer picture of what Tyler was doing. I braced my hands flat against the table. Tell me. He believed Hannah had collected evidence against him. Sloan said, real evidence. Enough to destroy every lie he built, and he needed to flush it out. I stared at him. And that means me. Yes. He spoke the word without hesitation. The call you received, the voice that sounded like your daughter, was from a burner phone. All traces, towers, and timestamps point to Tyler. My mouth felt dry. So the voice, it wasn't her no. Sloan said gently. It was him imitating her tone. Whispering, breathing shallow, keeping phrases short so you wouldn't notice. He tapped one of the pages. We also have security footage. Tyler left the property early the morning you arrived. Long before anyone else was scheduled to be home. I pressed my palms together until the joints ached. All the warmth drained from my chest, replaced by a slow, creeping cold. He wanted me there. I murmured. He needed me to come. He counted on it. Sloan replied. He knew you hadn't spoken in 5 years. He knew you would cling to the smallest sign she wanted you back. He used that hope to draw you in. My breath shook. Just once. To accomplish what? To see if Hannah left something behind. Sloan nodded at Daniel, who stood in the doorway listening. Your arrival forced him to retreat before he could search everywhere. That gave us probable cause to intervene. I folded the papers carefully, though my hands trembled. I thought I was coming to fix things. I whispered. I thought I was speaking to my daughter. Sloan's expression softened. You were not the target in the way you feared, Mrs. Rhodes. But you were the lure. The room seemed suddenly smaller, the air heavier. If I had been bait, then Tyler knew I was no longer playing my role, and he was still out there. Detective Sloan's radio crackled, sharp enough to cut the silence in half. An officer's voice came through, hushed but urgent. Movement in the woods. East side. Someone circling toward the back deck. Sloan stiffened. Mrs. Rhodes, stand up. We're moving you now. 2 officers flanked me immediately, guiding me toward the armored vehicle parked near the driveway. I kept my eyes on the tree line. Branches shook too deliberate to be wind. Then I saw him. Tyler emerged from the shadowed pines, his clothing smeared with dirt, his jaw clenched as if it had been locked in place for days. He walked fast, scanning the yard, unaware or uncaring that officers were already closing in. Stay behind the vehicle, Sloan ordered. Stepping forward, Tyler spotted him and raised both hands. Panic and fury etched across his face. Oh, come on, this is ridiculous, he barked. Where's Hannah? Did she call you? Did she tell you her latest story? Sloan didn't blink. Stop moving. Hands where I can see them. Tyler ignored the command and kept walking. She ran off. She has done this before. Ask her mother, she lives for drama. My voice came out colder than I expected. You called me. You pretended to be her. He turned sharply, eyes narrowing as if only now registering I was present. You showed up on your own. I never forced you, and you always did meddle. Marinelle. Hannah hated that. One of the officers approached his truck parked near the slope of the yard. Detective, we've got gloves with fresh stains, a shattered phone, and tools for a gas line. Sloan took a step closer. Tyler Rhodes. You are being detained on suspicion of Tyler Spun, bolting toward the woods. Stop, Sloan shouted. Officers charged after him. I watched as Tyler scrambled over a fallen branch and slipped in the mud. 2 officers tackled him hard, pinning him to the ground as he thrashed like a wild animal. "Get off me," he shouted, kicking blindly. "You do not understand. She ruined everything." Sloan approached slowly. Expression unreadable. Tyler jerked against the cuffs, his voice rising into a raw, furious scream. She should have kept her mouth shut. The words cracked through the air like a sickening confession. I felt my knees weaken as they dragged him upright. His eyes were wild, no remorse, only rage. They led him toward the cruiser while Sloan returned to me, his voice quiet but firm. "He is in custody now. We will find out what happened to your daughter." Tyler's shouts echoed across the property, fading only when the car door slammed. Whether his arrest would unravel the truth or bury it deeper, I could not yet know. The house felt colder once Tyler was gone, as if every secret trapped inside its walls had finally been given permission to breathe. Officers moved through each room with deliberate precision, opening drawers, lifting rugs, documenting every broken trace of Hannah's last days. Daniel hovered near the staircase, eyes scanning the molding. "She was trying to leave clues," he murmured. "She always said hiding things in plain sight was safer." Detective Sloan nodded. "If she left evidence, we will find it." Minutes later, Daniel called out, "Here, over here." His voice trembled. We rushed to the bedroom. He'd pulled the bottom drawer of Hannah's vanity completely out, revealing a thin wooden panel at the back. He pried it gently, revealing a slim, black thumb drive no bigger than a stick of gum. Sloan held it up. This could break everything wide open. Later that night, he returned to me with a laptop and a grim expression. "Mrs. Rhodes." She documented everything. He pressed play on a voice note. Hannah's voice, shaky but determined, filled the small room. "If anything happens to me, it will be Tyler. He is moving money, dirty money. I have screenshots, bank records, everything. Mom, if you hear this, please protect the kids." I covered my mouth, the sound of her voice both a gift and a wound. Over the next days, the investigation accelerated. The files on the drive were exhaustive bank transfers, recordings of Tyler's threats, photos of injuries she had hidden. Sloan worked around the clock, and I waited for the news I feared more than anything. It came on the 4th morning. They found Hannah's body near a wooded trail off Route 1. Daniel brought me the news himself, his voice breaking halfway through. The funeral was small, quiet, almost too quiet for a life that had fought so hard to survive. Custody discussions for the children began immediately. I promised Hannah, silently, that I would give them a home grounded in safety, not fear. Daniel stayed close, checking in every day, fixing small things around the house without being asked. He became steady in a way I had not expected. Each night, I turned on a small lamp by the window, not to wait for what I had lost, but to guard what I still had left. The ruins of my old life remained, but in the soft glow of that lamp, a new one slowly began to take shape.